What's up, guys? What's going on, man? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's daily devotional, and we are going over the book of John. We have been reading about who Jesus is and his character, his nature. It's been pretty good, been informative, man, and I hope that you guys have been learning. Today, we are in John chapter 7, verse 30 through 36. John chapter 7, verse 30 through 36. So if you haven't read yet, go ahead and stop the tape, check it out, see what it has to say, and then come back and we'll answer the 4 questions, my mans. But if you've already done that, then we're going to dive into the scriptures and see what God has in store for us today. So what's going on is the first question, man. What's happening? We get this thing about Jesus saying, yeah, you know where I'm from, man. You know where I'm at, but I'm really from the Father, and you don't know him. And so it's a way of saying that they really don't know where he's from either, because he is from the Father and they don't know the Father. Only he knows the Father because he came from the Father. And we know that is just a summary or a revisit of what the prologue was that John had talked about earlier. And so after this happens, man, Jesus says these things, then they send some people to try and arrest Jesus. They try and lay hands on him and put him in jail. And it says that nobody was able to because his hour had not yet come. So we're going to stop there just for a second to talk about this hour thing again. See, the hour is an important word in the book of John because it refers to that time of his glorification. So we have the glorification of Jesus, and what that is really his. Really his glorification, but it's also his shame. It's as he has been placed on the cross, he is being murdered, and the sins of the world are being placed on him. But it's not just that; it's also the resurrection when Jesus rises from the dead, and then not only that, but also his ascension. And so it's his death and his resurrection and his ascension is the glorification of Jesus. Specifically his death and resurrection, because it doesn't talk about his ascension in the book of John. But it is his death and his resurrection. This is the hour in which Jesus is glorified. And because it was not yet his hour, they weren't able to get him. They weren't able to get him because when they get him, they're going to try and murder him. They're going to try and kill him. And so they weren't able to put hands on him. But after that, it says that the crowds believed in him for. They said, like, if there is going to be a Christ, would he do more signs than this? It's like this brother Jesus is doing so much stuff that if there was a Christ, would he do more than this? But after that, the Pharisees talks a little bit more about how we find out who is the one who tried to lay hands on Jesus. The Pharisees, of course, the high priests, of course. Those are the ones who wanted to capture Jesus, and they did it with temple guards, or they attempted to with temple guards. Now, after this, Jesus says some things. He says, understanding and knowing that they're going to try and grab a hold of him, seize him, and put him in jail. He's like, man, I'm about to leave. And where I go, you can't go. I'm going back to the one who sent me. See, they're not recognizing the one who sent me. They're not seeing it again as my Father. But we, the readers, know that he's saying he's going back to his Father. And this is the place that they can't go, because this is also the time of his glorification, is his death on the cross. And when he dies, he goes back to the Father. That's the place that they can't come. That's the place that they can't approach. And they get confused, obviously. They always get confused, man. We get confused. John, the disciples get confused in this. And it's not until later on, after his glorification, that some of these things are revealed or understood by the disciples as well. But they ask the question, where is he going? What's he doing? And what's so funny is that the thing that they say is he going to the diaspora of the Jews? I'm sorry, the diaspora of the Gentiles. And then is he going to teach the Gentiles? It's funny that they say that, because that's the very thing that Jesus does, or his disciples do in the gospel, is that it spreads out to the Gentiles. It spreads out, well, they say Greeks, but Greek meaning Gentiles. So that's a powerful thing. They speak more than they know. They speak more than they know. But what does this mean? Like, what is all this coming together? What does this say about God? Well, first off, it says He's in sovereign control because nobody is able to lay a hand on Jesus until the hour has come, until the proper time is approached. So nobody is able to touch Jesus until it's time for His glorification. God is in sovereign control over everything, over the Pharisees, over the crowds, over the guards, over everything. And what does this say about man? Well, I think it's saying that we can't do anything apart from the favor of God. There's no way that we can find a path to the Father save through Jesus. He says they can't go there because they don't recognize Him as the Father. I mean, as the one who is sent from the Father. That's the reason why they can't go be with the Father. It's going to talk a little bit later about the disciples not being able to follow, but He says He's going to come and receive them to Himself because they believe in the name of Jesus. But these Pharisees, they seek to kill Him because they don't know Him. And because they don't know Him, they will not know the Father. And so there's nothing that we can do apart from the favor of God through Jesus. So how do we apply these truths to our lives, man? I think the simplest way to think about this is to recognize God's sovereignty, to recognize His control over every aspect. As we live, I've heard a quote, and it says that as we're living for the glory of God, as we're doing the call that Jesus has called us to in our life, we are indestructible. There's no way that anybody can stop us or hold us back, kill us, maim us, or anything if we are doing His will and His purpose has not been complete. And so as we seek to do His purposes, recognize in your life, where is His purpose in your life? Where is His desire for you to do in your life? What is it that He desires for you to do in your life? But then firstly, above all that, recognize God's sovereignty and control over everything, and then rest in that. Find peace in that, knowing that He's seeking for your good and His glory. I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.